127 million people, 72 hours of continuous freezing rain, ice accumulations reaching 1.5 inches in some locations. And the worst part? The National Weather Service models just shifted overnight, putting cities that thought they were safe directly in the danger zone. This isn't a speculation. Emergency operations centers across 15 states activated at 3 a.m. this morning. That only happens when forecasters know something catastrophic is about to unfold. What you're about to hear is the hour-by-hour breakdown of exactly when this storm will hit your area, exactly what type of precipitation to expect, and the precise windows when you can still take action versus when it's too late. Because here's what most forecasts want to tell you. The difference between preparing at 6 p.m. Thursday versus 8 a.m. Friday could literally determine whether you have power for the next 2 weeks or whether you are sitting in a freezing house with no electricity and no way to get help. I am going to walk you through every single hour of this storm from first impacts Thursday night through final clearance Tuesday morning. No vague predictions, just specific times, specific cities, specific threats. And before we go any further, understand this. 3 major weather systems are colliding at exactly the wrong time in exactly the wrong place, creating a storm that veteran meteorologists are calling a once-in-a-decade event. Let me start with what's happening right now, this moment. Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m. Central Time, Arctic air is already diving south out of Canada. Temperatures in North Dakota have dropped to negative 30 degrees. That's actual temperature, not wind chill. Wind chills are hitting negative 55. That same air mass will be in Texas by Saturday morning. At the exact same time, a low-pressure system is intensifying over the Four Corners region. Moisture is streaming north from the Gulf of Mexico at unprecedented levels for January. The jet stream has positioned itself in the worst possible configuration, creating what meteorologists call an omega block pattern. That means this storm will stall and want to move for 3 to 4 days. Thursday evening, 6 p.m. to midnight. This is your final preparation window. After midnight, the first precipitation begins and your options become extremely limited. If you haven't stocked up on supplies by 6 p.m. Thursday, you're gambling with your safety. Grocery stores will be mobbed Thursday evening. By 9 p.m., shelves will be empty. By Friday morning, it won to matter because you won to be able to drive there safely. Here is your Thursday evening checklist, and I am going to be specific because generic advice gets people hurt. Between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Thursday, you need 1 gallon of water per person for 7 days minimum. Get batteries, specifically D batteries for flashlights, and 9-volt batteries for smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. Get non-perishable food that requires 0 cooking. Protein bars, canned goods you can eat cold, peanut butter, crackers. Get any prescriptions filled tonight. Between 9 p.m. and midnight Thursday, charge every electronic device you own. Phones, tablets, laptops, battery banks, rechargeable flashlights. Do full charge cycles. Plug in everything simultaneously if you can. Friday 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. Most people are asleep during these hours, but this is when the storm makes its first move. Light freezing drizzle begins across the Texas Panhandle starting at 2 a.m. Friday. By 4 a.m., it reaches western Oklahoma. This isn't a heavy precipitation yet, but it's enough. Roads glaze over instantly. The temperature is 18 degrees Fahrenheit. Any moisture that falls freezes on contact. If you absolutely must drive Friday morning for work, you need to leave before 5 a.m. or don't leave at all. Friday 6 a.m. to noon. This is when the storm announces itself for real. Freezing rain intensifies across the entire Texas Panhandle and western Oklahoma between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. We are talking about Amarillo, Lubbock, Pampa, Borger. If you live in these cities, this is your danger window. Ice accumulation rates hit 0.1 inches per hour, which doesn't sound like much until you realize that it's enough to make every road in your city completely impassable within 90 minutes. Oklahoma City and Tulsa, your impacts begin between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Friday morning. This is right at the end of morning rush hour, which creates a nightmare scenario. Thousands of people are still on the roads when freezing rain starts. The Oklahoma Department of Transportation will close highways between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Friday. If you are caught on Interstate 40 or Interstate 35 during this window, you could be stranded for hours. Friday noon to 6 p.m. The storm expands dramatically. By 1 p.m. Friday, freezing rain spreads into northern Texas, including the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. By 2 p.m., it reaches Arkansas. By 3 p.m., southern Missouri gets hit. Kansas City starts seeing mixed precipitation, sleet and freezing rain combined. By 4 p.m. Friday, which is evening rush hour, we have active freezing rain from Abilene, Texas, all the way to Springfield, Missouri. That is a 400-mile wide zone of dangerous ice accumulation happening simultaneously. Here's what 4 p.m. Friday looks like on the ground. Traffic is completely gridlocked. People who left work at 3 p.m. are still trying to get home at 6 p.m. Accidents pile up. Emergency services can't respond fast enough because their vehicles are sliding on ice too. Power starts flickering in Oklahoma City and Tulsa as ice-weighted tree limbs brush against power lines. The first outages happened between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. Friday across central Oklahoma. 5,000 customers lose power, then 10,000, then 50,000, Friday 6 p.m. to midnight. This is the nightmare window for the southern plains. Heavy freezing rain, and I mean heavy, moves across Dallas-Fort Worth, all of Oklahoma, and most of Arkansas. Ice accumulation rates increase to 0.2 to 0.3 inches per hour. In 6 hours, from 6 p.m. Friday to midnight Friday, some areas will accumulate 1.5 to 2 inches of ice. Power infrastructure cannot handle this. Major outages begin across the entire region. Let me paint you the picture of what 9 p.m. Friday night looks like. You're sitting in your house in Oklahoma City or Dallas or Little Rock. The power went out 2 hours ago. It's 22 degrees Fahrenheit outside and dropping. You can hear tree limbs cracking and crashing every few minutes. Each crash is followed by a blue flash in the distance as transformers explode. Your house is getting colder. It was 68 degrees when the power went out at 7 p.m. By 9 p.m. it is down to 60 degrees. By midnight it'll be 55. By Saturday morning, it'll be 45. Saturday midnight to 6 a.m. The storm is now a multi-state disaster. While ice continues to pummel Oklahoma, Arkansas, and North Texas, heavy snow begins firing up across Kansas, Missouri, and southern Illinois. We are talking about snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. Kansas City wakes up Saturday morning to 6 inches of snow already on the ground, and it is still falling heavily. Memphis, Tennessee, this is when your crisis begins. Freezing rain starts between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Saturday morning. The temperature is 19 degrees. Every drop that falls turns to ice immediately. By 6 a.m. Saturday, Memphis has accumulated 0.3 inches of ice, and the freezing rain is intensifying. Memphis Light, Gas, and Water starts reporting outages at 4:30 a.m. By 6 a.m., 20,000 customers are without power. By noon Saturday, that number will hit 200,000. Saturday, 6 a.m. to noon. The storm reaches peak intensity across the largest geographic area. From Lubbock, Texas to Louisville, Kentucky, we have either heavy freezing rain or heavy snow occurring simultaneously. This is an 800-mile wide zone of hazardous winter weather. Nashville, your forecast changed overnight, and you need to know this. Original models had you getting snow. The new models shift you into the ice zone. Freezing rain begins in Nashville between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. Saturday morning. By 10 a.m. Saturday, Nashville is under heavy freezing rain. By noon Saturday, you will have 0.5 inches of ice accumulation. That's enough to start snapping power lines. Nashville Electric Service provides power to 400,000 customers. Their entire system is vulnerable to ice. They already preparing for what they are calling a multi-week restoration event. That means if you lose power Saturday morning in Nashville, you might not get it back for 2 weeks or more. Saturday noon to 6 p.m. This is when the compounding disasters begin. We now have 3 separate crisis zones happening at once. Zone 1, the ice disaster across Tennessee, Arkansas, and northern Mississippi. Zone 2, the heavy snow disaster across Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky. Zone 3, the extreme cold disaster moving into areas that just lost power. Little Rock, Arkansas, at 3 p.m. Saturday. You've been under freezing rain for 18 hours straight. Ice accumulation has reached 1.2 inches. Power is out across 70% of the city. The temperature is 17 degrees and falling. Entergy Arkansas is reporting that restoration efforts can't even begin until the freezing rain stops, which won't happen until Sunday morning. That means people who lost power Friday night won't even see crews working on repairs until Monday at the earliest. St. Louis, Missouri at 4 p.m. Saturday. You have 8 inches of snow on the ground, and it is still falling at 1 inch per hour. The temperature is 12 degrees. Wind chills are -5. Lambert Airport shut down at noon. Every school district within 50 miles has announced closures through Tuesday. Interstate 70 is closed from Kansas City to Indianapolis. Interstate 55 is closed from St. Louis to Memphis. Saturday, 6 p.m. to midnight. The snow machine goes into overdrive for the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic. Cincinnati, Louisville, Indianapolis, Columbus, all of you are now under heavy snow. Snowfall rates hit 2 inches per hour in some areas between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. Saturday night. This is the kind of snow that completely buries cars, makes roads invisible, brings cities to a standstill. Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia, your window is coming. Light snow begins in D.C. around 9 p.m. Saturday night. By midnight, it's moderate snow. By Sunday morning, it'll be heavy snow. You are looking at your biggest snowstorm in 4 years. The I-95 corridor from Richmond to Boston is about to get hammered. Sunday midnight to 6 a.m. This is the coldest night of the entire event. Temperatures crash across the entire region. Oklahoma City hits -8 degrees. Dallas drops to 11 degrees. Memphis reaches 9 degrees. Nashville hits 13 degrees. Little Rock sees 7 degrees. These are life-threatening temperatures for cities with massive power outages. Homes without heat will drop below freezing within 12 to 18 hours. Pipes will burst throughout Sunday morning, Sunday 6 a.m. to noon. 2 things happen simultaneously. The snow reaches maximum intensity in the northeast while the ice storm continues in the southeast. Washington, D.C. wakes up to 6 inches of snow with heavy snow still falling. Philadelphia has 4 inches with snowfall rates increasing. Baltimore, Wilmington, all of the I-95 corridor is getting crushed. Meanwhile, Charlotte, North Carolina, your ice storm begins Sunday morning. This is cold air damming in action. Freezing rain starts between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. Sunday morning in Charlotte, by noon Sunday, you'll have 0.4 inches of ice. Raleigh gets the same treatment. Richmond, Virginia, you rewrite on the line between heavy snow and freezing rain. By 10 a.m. Sunday, it'll become clear which you are getting. Either way, it is going to be bad. Sunday noon to 6 p.m. The northeast snow reaches its peak. New York City has 6 to 8 inches. Philadelphia has 8 to 10 inches. Washington, D.C. has 10 to 12 inches. And it is still snowing heavily. Snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour continue through the afternoon. Every major airport is shut down. Every highway is impassable. 40 million people are under blizzard conditions. At the same time, down south, Charlotte and Raleigh are in the middle of their ice storm. 0.6 to 0.8 inches of ice by 3 p.m. Sunday afternoon. Duke Energy is reporting catastrophic damage to their power infrastructure. Poles are snapping. Transmission lines are down. They bringing in crews from neighboring states, but those crews can't even reach North Carolina because the roads are too dangerous. Sunday, 6 p.m. to midnight. The snow finally starts to wind down in most areas, but the damage is done. Final snowfall totals are staggering. Northwest Arkansas has 18 inches. Southern Indiana has 16 inches. West Virginia has 22 inches in some mountain locations. Pennsylvania has 15 inches. The entire eastern half of the country is paralyzed. Monday, 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. This is the coldest morning of the entire event. Record-breaking cold spreads from Canada to the Gulf Coast. Bismarck, North Dakota hits -40 degrees. Minneapolis hits -25. Oklahoma City hits -11. These are the coldest temperatures in 8 to 10 years for many locations. Mobile, Alabama wakes up Monday morning to 19 degrees. That hasn't happened in 12 years. Orlando, Florida drops to 32 degrees. Frost warnings extend into South Florida. The entire eastern seaboard is locked in a deep freeze. And remember, tens of millions of people are without power during this cold. This is when the true humanitarian crisis becomes apparent. Monday, 6 a.m. to noon. The storm system finally begins to exit, but the impacts are just beginning to be understood. The ice storm has caused an estimated 6 to 8 million power outages across 10 states. The snowstorm has shut down every major city from St. Louis to Boston. The cold is setting records across 20 states. And now comes the harsh reality. Even though the precipitation is ending, nothing is returning to normal for days. Monday afternoon assessment. Emergency management directors across the affected region are holding press conferences. The numbers are staggering. Arkansas reports 1.2 million customers without power, which is 40% of the entire state. Tennessee reports 900,000 outages. Kentucky reports 500,000 outages. North Carolina reports 700,000 outages. Oklahoma reports 600,000 outages. Texas reports 800,000 outages in the northern regions. Hear what those numbers mean in human terms. 5 million people without electricity, in houses that are now 35 to 45 degrees inside, with outside temperatures in the teens or single digits, with no timeline for restoration. Utility companies are saying the same thing in every state. This is a multi-day to multi-week restoration event depending on location. Monday evening through Tuesday, roads remain completely impassable across most of the affected area. Ice doesn't melt when the high temperature is 25 degrees. Snow doesn't melt when the high is 18 degrees. Even though the storm is over, travel is still impossible. That means grocery stores can get deliveries. Gas stations can get fuel. Hospitals are running on generators. Dialysis centers are canceling appointments. The infrastructure of normal life is broken. Tuesday through Thursday, this is the slow, painful recovery phase. Road crews work around the clock, but they remaking inches of progress per hour, not miles. They have to physically break up ice and remove it. They have to plow snow that's been compressed into solid masses by the weight. In some rural areas, people are completely cut off. No power, no access, no communication if cell towers are down. Power restoration efforts ramp up Tuesday, but it is methodical work. Crews can't just flip switches. They have to rebuild infrastructure, replace poles, restring lines, and they can only work during daylight hours for safety. That means 8 to 10 hours of work per day. In areas with catastrophic damage, full restoration could take 2 to 3 weeks, Wednesday, January 29th through Friday, January 31st. Schools remain closed across vast areas, not just because of road conditions, but because schools have no power or have infrastructure damage. Parents who need to work can because they have no childcare. Businesses can open because employees can get there or because the business itself has no power. The economic impact starts becoming clear. Early estimates suggest $20 to $30 billion in total damages. Power grid repairs, burst pipe repairs, lost business revenue, destroyed crops in the South, supply chain disruptions that will ripple for weeks. And then there's the second storm. Long-range models show another system developing by next weekend, January 31st through February 2nd. The pattern remains locked. If this happens, it could hit many of the same areas that are still recovering from the first storm. Imagine losing power again before you even got it back from the first outage. Imagine more ice on already damaged trees and power lines. This could extend the crisis by another week or more. Here's what you need to do right now based on where you are. If you're in the ice zone, Texas through Tennessee, through the Carolinas, and you still have power, protect it. Turn off unnecessary appliances. Reduce your electrical load. The grid is fragile. If you lost power, you need to decide by Tuesday whether to evacuate to a warming center or to family outside the area. Temperatures will remain below freezing through the week. If you were in the heavy snow zone, Missouri through the Ohio Valley through the Mid-Atlantic, your priority is heating and food. Preserve heat by closing off rooms you are not using. Layer clothing. Use blankets. If you have a fireplace, use it, but make sure your chimney is clear and you have carbon monoxide detectors working. Everyone in the affected area needs to check on neighbors. This is critical. Elderly people living alone, people with medical conditions, families with infants. These are the most vulnerable populations. A wellness check could save a life. Water is going to become an issue within 48 to 72 hours of power outages. Pumping stations lose power, water pressure drops, eventually water stops flowing. Fill bathtubs now while you still have water. You need it for toilet flushing. Fill drinking containers. Assume you will be without running water for 3 to 5 days in the worst hit areas. The psychological toll is going to be severe. This isn't just a storm. This is a multi-day disaster that will test people's resilience. When you recold in the dark, isolated, not knowing when help is coming, it is traumatizing. Mental health resources are going to be overwhelmed in the weeks after this storm. If you're struggling, reach out, call crisis lines, talk to someone. I'll be providing updates every 6 hours through this entire event. Wheel track, power restoration efforts, road conditions, weather developments, everything you need to stay informed and stay safe. Make sure you resubscribed and notifications are on because this information could be critical. This is a historic storm. The combination of ice, snow, extreme cold, and duration puts it in rare company. If you in the impact zone, the decisions you make in the next 24 hours will determine how you fare over the next 2 weeks. Take this seriously. Prepare now.